That was the Tropidelic, their song Police State, off the album Police State.
Take it in the street.
They're from Cleveland. You should check them out. They're on tour with 311 right now. Saw them last night. They were awesome.
Cleveland, what a shithole.
Yeah. Losing baseball teams come from Cleveland.
Nah, you know what? They figured they just achieved enough this year that they would just, let those young Yankees go on, have a little glory for their own. Just it's probably so hard being part of that organization when you're so young. All those great names you got to live up to. So I think it was a gesture of kindness.
Baby Bombers up 3-2 on the hated Houston Astros. Assholes, whatever they are.
That's a mighty big task they got ahead of them to go down to Houston. I mean, I know you just need one, but to go down there and get that out of a 2-game.
It'll be fun. Baseball playoffs are something to behold. So, a couple of weeks ago, you had this idea, Rick, that you wanted to recast the show. We've come to the conclusion that there is a lot of people miscast on this show, people just playing on the wrong shows.
I think what it started from, it wasn't so much where they were placed on each brand, but just how their character was cast. If the role that they were put into, if they were a baby, a heel, if they were kind of floating in the middle. And what we started there, that bud just blossomed into this entire idea that we're about to run out.
So in 2002, when Paul Heyman was writing SmackDown, he had this thing called the SmackDown Six. And the SmackDown Six were basically who he built the show around. And as long as there were stories for these 6 guys, he was going to have an entertaining show. This was when they first split the rosters with Raw and SmackDown. If you go back and you look on the network, the SmackDown 6 were Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, Edge, Chris Benoit, Rey Mysterio, Chavo Guerrero. They were the centerpieces of the Blue brand. So we decided we were going to recast the show. We're going to do 6 for SmackDown, 8 for Monday Night Raw, 4 for 205 Live, and then who we would consider the top 5 women.
And I think to go back a little bit when you were talking about the SmackDown 6, it really is an old concept in professional wrestling, especially going back to the territory days where you had your staples, you had those mainstays that you were building your territories around. They were the names that made you money, and then you kind of had people filtering in and out that were moving through that would come in that. You'd put them over, you'd build them up, and then your staples, your foundation, would take them out. It was just a formula. It was how you ran the business. It was how money was made. And I really think that all went out the window when you insert one Mr. Vince Russo, who had the notion that every person on the roster must be involved in something and must have something going on.
Well, and that was also kind of at the force of hand from Nitro. Vince was forced to do a lot of things that he wouldn't normally do in that era. And trusting in Vince Russo and just throwing out matches that typically would be saved for pay-per-views and doing title changes, and that all became part of the business right around the time of the Attitude Era. This is kind of that old throwback. So, Rick, who would you make your SmackDown 6?
Well, I've had a little bit of a shake-up in my SmackDown 6. But we're going to work through it here. I've got a replacement for one of these slots here. But in no particular order, I'll start going through them. I'm going to have Finn Balor as one of the lead figures on my Blue brand. As everyone knows, I am not personally a Balor fan. But damn, I got enough business sense to realize that people love this guy.
There's money in Finn.
There is money to be there. And I'm going to jump on that bandwagon there with SmackDown. Also joining Finn is Nakamura, Cesaro. Most likely build those 3 as typically as my babies, but anyone can kind of interchange there. I also have Samoa Joe, Bobby Roode, and in that 6th spot, I had Neville, but it looks like he is on his way out. He wants that departure. He might be heading overseas or back to the indie scene. But I always, in each of these scenarios, I had someone waiting in the wings, and this is the opportunity that he's been waiting for to jump right on there. And I'm going to go with the hottest names from NXT in Adam Cole.
All right, so you got Balor, Nakamura, Cesaro, Joe, Roode, and Adam Cole. Balor, Nakamura, Cesaro are going to be your baby faces. Joe, Roode, and Cole, I assume, are going to be your heels.
They would be, for the most part. You know, you're always going to have to shake things up here and there. You're going to have to play with that crowd reaction. But going into this, I would look at Balor, Nak, Cesaro. Those are going to be the ones up that I believe that the crowd's going to take to. And on the flip side of that, I want Joe, Roode, and Cole just building that heat, baby.
Interesting. So I assume you would make Balor your lead babyface on the Blue Brand?
I would say for the most part, I think there's most value with him in that position. But with it, I could see either way where you could shift Nakamura or Cesaro right up into that. And I think that we really haven't seen everything that Cesaro brings to the table. So I'd give him a real opportunity there to really step out from that stigma of being a great tag team wrestler, or that he can't connect with the crowd individually, and just give him that shot to shine there.
Yeah, you've got some real diversity, man. This would be a very hard-hitting show with Joe, Roode, and Cole. I mean, you've got the monster heel, you've got the cocky heel, and you've got the chicken shit heel.
And a lot to me, since the original brand split, there's always been that different feel or dynamic between the red brand and the blue brand, where Raw seems more about that sports entertainment aspect, more storyline driven, or maybe where they're more complex, there's more layers to them. SmackDown's more about bell to bell and some simple storytelling.
I very much booked my show the same way. My SmackDown 6 are going to be AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rusev, Big E, and then I pulled out a couple of wild cards. Pete fucking Dunne sells tickets, son. Thank you, Mr. McIver, for that one. I'd put Mr. Pete Dunne on SmackDown. I would also put Kenny Omega on SmackDown when he inevitably signs with the WWE. So I have Styles, Nakamura, Omega, Rusev, Big E, and Pete Dunne. That's going to be my wrestling show.
Now, interesting here. I'm going to utilize all those names that you had, but comparing how we would build our SmackDown 6. Some different names, but very similar talents and characters to fill those roles.
When we get into Raw and 205, I have some of your names on different shows as well.
So I think we're both recognizing the top tier talents that they have within the company.
Yep.
The complete structure.
We just disagree on necessarily where they would be on the show. Interesting. So just to recap, Rick has Balor, Nakamura, Cesaro, Joe, Roode, and Cole. I'm taking Styles, Nakamura, Omega, Rusev, Big E Langston, and Pete Dunne. Both of those are good shows. I could invest in either of those shows. My next up, since I knew that you had done that, would be American Alpha and the Revival. I would put both of those tag teams. Number one, I would put American Alpha back together, and I would put both of those tag teams on SmackDown. If you haven't seen the matches that they had against each other in NXT, and you wonder why they're on the wrestling show, go back and watch those matches, because holy shit, are you in for a treat.
Now, would you try to weigh one show heavy with the tag division or try to balance those out?
You know, I would kind of try to balance it out, but I think I would definitely put the emphasis on the SmackDown tag division. To me, tag team wrestling is an art that is stories told in the ring.
I had kind of envisioned that as well, where whatever direction I would go with my SmackDown Live brand would have the better tag division. But on the flip side,
You put the women on Raw.
the women would head to Raw. That would be your superior division.
Yep, agreed. So let's move on to Raw. I'll start this one since you took SmackDown.
All right.
My Raw 8 are Roman Reigns, Drew McIntyre, Braun Strowman, Kevin Owens, The Miz, Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, and Baron Corbin. That's my Raw 8.
Okay, so we've got some different ones here we're going through.
You know, diversity is a wonderful thing.
Now, see here, I have Roman Reigns, a top dog. Where you have AJ Styles on your blue brand, I have him on Raw. To me, I know he fits that mold we just talked about for SmackDown. But to me, with him getting up there in age, I want to put him more into a show that I feel has a bit more.
You can protect him a little bit more.
You protect him a little more, that general audience star power on Raw.
Save the bump card.
I feel that maybe I'm going to put him kind of like in my Shawn Michaels role there.
I could see it.
Also over there, I have Rusev, who you had on SmackDown. And the reason Rusev there, I feel I like that ruggedness of him, and it screams Raw to me. Kevin Owens, I have him on Raw, who I know is an awesome in-ring performer, but I believe his character work and what he can bring storytelling-wise is going to work better for my sports entertainment show. I have Seth Rollins. Almost the same reasons, kind of a combination of the reasons that I placed AJ and Owens on this show.
The rest, I think, are obvious, but how would you cast Rollins? Would you cast him as a babyface or would you cast him as a heel? Which way do you like him better?
I think obviously his heel work from a character standpoint is much better.
I agree. I prefer Seth as a heel. He's just got that dirty slime ball, dirtbag kind of thing to him.
Yeah, he's got that look where he's always up to something. Also going with there, these are probably pretty obvious. You know, The Miz, who is Mr. Showman for the entire company. Then it's going with some big men there. I'm sticking with Braun over on that show. I mean, he's really getting himself a niche there. You almost feel like that, you know, he seriously is one of those staples of Raw that if he left, that it would almost tear the damn thing down. And then I got Big E in there to give him an opportunity to start shining as a singles.
I think it's interesting that we both put Big E on different shows, but we both value Big E to the point that we would consider him in the top 15, 20 people in the company.
And I think, you know, from that big man to even his athleticism, that's been clear, damn clear, since his NXT days. But now he's reminding everyone again of the character work that he can put out there. And it's not necessarily that he has to be that exact character that we're seeing in New Day, but that he is able to present himself as something there.
I want to see the next evolution of Big E. I think I'm ready for the next evolution of Big E, whatever it is. It's obviously going to be a heel to begin with.
So is that going to be like his next DVD, The Big Evolution of Big E?
Now, for my next up for Raw, I have, of course, Tyler Breeze. He's young enough that he can be on the back burner for right now. He can be mid-card talent, putting over the 8. I also have Bobby Roode on there. I think Bobby Roode has reached his ceiling. As much as we talk about AJ Styles makes you better, I'm starting to feel like Dolph Ziggler just makes you worse. He just puts a limit on you. If you lose to Dolph Ziggler, with the narrative knowing that Ziggler is 50-50 as it gets, I feel like you're just restricted to that mid-card hell.
So it's almost like saying where they have positioned Ziggler now in this company after all these years. He's got that stank on him. It's like he's the skunk running around WWE. He hits you with that stank, and you're gonna be scrubbing for a while.
I had higher hopes for Bobby Roode. I had much higher hopes for Bobby Roode, and I just feel like he's going to be stuck in the mid-card. He's going to be the guy that takes over Sami Zayn's spot. That guy on the mid-card that when you come in as a heel, you feud with Bobby Roode. He's going to be your first babyface opponent. Just like when you come in as a babyface, you go up against Ziggler. Kind of that gatekeeper role.
But here with Raw, just one last thing for me on here. My waiting in the wings. I know you've already got him occupied in the company, but when he does sign, I think Kenny Omega kind of fits that Raw feeling that I want the brand to represent.
I think Kenny Omega fits wherever you want to put Kenny Omega, as long as you let him be Kenny Omega.
That'll be the trick. He has to be what he's worked so hard to build up over the course of his career.
I do find it interesting that when it comes to Raw, we have 5 of the same talents. The ones that we're different on are AJ, Rusev, and Big E, who I all have on SmackDown. Which way do you take Rusev on your show? If you're going to put him on the character show, do you go back to the big brute character, Rusev, or do you go with this over-the-top Rusev Day character?
I can see a blend in there. I can see where he wants all these accolades and he wants things brought to him. He is a pompous jackass, but then he can seriously get down to business. I want a blend of those things there.
I like Rusev Day. Let's go to the women, because I think 205 Live is going to be very, very interesting. So let's go to the women. I ranked the women as far as who I would write storylines first. Asuka, Sasha, Charlotte, Kairi Sane, Ember Moon. Those are my 5 women that I would build my new women's division around. Who do you put in those 5 spots?
Mine's pretty simple, and I'm going to kind of balance them out where I need. But my number 1, I'm going to build around the horsewomen. And just not to confuse any of you out there, the real horsewomen, the wrestling version of the horsewomen. With
So Sasha, Bayley.
One slight shakeup. Obviously, Charlotte, my Char right at the top. Lynch, Banks, and I'm going to swap in Blanchard for Bayley. Bayley will be replaced.
Harsh.
She still has a spot in programming for me. She can be one of those great babies that feuds with these horsewomen. She still has a spot, but I'm going to have that one shake up and get another second generation horse person in there. Then Asuka. You can't not utilize such a great talent.
Asuka to me is number 1. She is priority number 1. Jersey Mike asked me last night, what happens if Emma beats Asuka? Number 1, that's not going to happen. Number 2, if it does happen, just send her back to Japan. Her career is over. Do you agree with me on that statement?
Oh, 100%. I'm not so much interested in what happens at TLC during the debut, but there's going to be a lot at stake in these first couple of months with how they handle her creatively. It's going to be make or break, I believe.
I am just afraid that we're going to be on here bitching about how they're using Asuka in 2 weeks. Terrified.
I'm going to say to hold out the report card until the Rumble, And then we'll really be able to say, okay, they have no idea what they're doing here, or there's hope.
So let's move to 205 Live. I think this is probably the most interesting of categories, at least on my show. Who do you put on 205 Live? Who are your top 4?
I don't have these in any order, and I had 6 from our original conversation. So is it okay if I list what I have here for my Cruiserweight 6?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sticking with the star power that they have right now. Enzo. He's got that WWE star power. Now I want to bring in some more. I want to bring in some more star power, some more characters, but some guys that can absolutely go inside the ring. I'm starting with from NXT, Aleister Black. I'm going to have your boy Breeze, that fat ass, lose 7 pounds to make the Cruiserweight division.
That fat fuck.
An outside name that is rumored, heavily rumored to be on his way to WWE, Ricochet. One of the most popular superstars in NXT and independent wrestling. Johnny Gargano. And then I'm gonna say where you got him elsewhere selling tickets. We're gonna be selling tickets at 205 through Pete Dunne.
How big is Pete Dunne? Is he really under 205 pounds?
I think he's right at the mark.
Really? God, he looks much bigger than that in person.
Well, it's just that build he's got. You know, he's got that stocky.
Well, he's built like a brick fucking shit house.
5'10", 205 pounds.
Wow.
That guy is a wrecking ball.
Holy shit. If you haven't seen Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate, I can tell you right now that's going to be my WWE match of the year. I'm kind of partial because I was in the building. But holy shit did those guys tear that place down. NXT TakeOver Chicago. Wow. Great match. Great match. So you've got Enzo, Black, Breeze, Ricochet, Johnny Gargano, and Pete Dunne. I have 6 on here too. I only had 4, but I had my 2 backups, so I guess I've got 6.
Okay, there we go. We're evened up.
In my world, since 205 Live is only an hour, this is going to be my feature show. This is going to be the best show of all 3 of them. You took Enzo to sell tickets because he's a star. I'm putting Finn Balor on 205 Live. He's going to be my centerpiece of 205 Live. Opposite of Finn Balor.
Headline. Finn Balor walks out of Raw.
Yeah, right. We got to redo this contract structure if we're going to pull this off. Number 2, opposite of Finn Balor, I'm putting Adam Cole. Adam Cole versus Finn Balor is your main event program going forward for the next 10 fucking years.
So start building it up here at 205 then, you're saying?
Yep.
You know, get a hot run out of there, and then you can transition
the
them
stars
to one
of tomorrow.
The heavyweight brands.
Next, I'm going to have Johnny Gargano, and then I'm going to put Aleister Black, Hideo Itami, and Andrade Cien Almas. That's my 205 Live 6, and that show would be awesome.
Well, that'd be all right. Not as good as mine, but I'm sure it would move some numbers.
Well, I mean, you got Tyler Breeze on your show, so I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, see, I already got you hooked.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're actually going to let him wrestle.
The one that I really want to explore on your list is Ricochet. I had Ricochet in consideration for 205 Live. However, I think I would make Ricochet my face of NXT, at least for a while. Ricochet's 29 years old, I believe. He just wrapped up with Lucha Underground last night. The clock is now ticking. 90 days. I think that we're going to see Ricochet in a WWE ring in 90 days.
I can see where you're going with it, and believe me, I would get down with your idea 100%. The logic where I was at here is that he's just not regulated to 205 here, exposure-wise.
Oh, agreed. I think you got to get Ricochet on TV. You got to get him on TV. However you do it.
Airtime on Monday nights as well.
Yep. Ricochet, if you have not had a chance to see Ricochet, he's also Prince Puma in Lucha Underground. Had his last match in Lucha Underground last night against Johnny Mundo, and it was incredible. And you get the shot of Prince Puma unmasking and walking out because his career is now over after he loses to Pentagon Jr. I don't know the status of Lucha Underground. I don't know what in the hell they're going to do.
I've heard different rumors if they're going to get picked up for that next season and going forward, but it's just so their production costs are astronomical.
It was one hell of a cliffhanger. I'll give them that. They finished up that show last night really, really well. As for Ricochet, Prince Puma, whatever you want to call him, he's definitely WWE bound. I completely believe that. I think he needs some time in NXT, though. I love me some Prince Puma. I like me some Ricochet. I think he can hide a lot when he's underneath of a mask. They're not going to do that in NXT, though. When it comes to facial expressions, and especially his promo work, it's just not good. We've seen a lot of guys come in from Lucha and fall flat because they just can't get the WWE psychology down. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen with Ricochet. I'm afraid it's just going to fall flat. Once you get past that, holy shit, he just did a 630.
Well, how about this? I'll meet you in the middle of the road here on Ricochet. Because we listed 6, and we've only got an hour-long show, so we can give someone some time off. We start him in NXT, but then we get him ready to be that next big boom for us in the cruiserweight.
Of course, when Ricochet does sign is when I do expect the signing of Blanchard as well. I think that's a package deal.
I also had that in mind when I listed both of them, and I've got plans for each of them.
If they don't do Blanchard and Flair in the next couple of years at WrestleMania, totally missed the mark. Tell that story. Almost verbatim, tell that story.
Now, see, I would almost, if Starrcade ever gets true legs under it and moves beyond a live event, man, wouldn't that be a great headliner at a Starrcade?
Wow.
Flair and Blanchard?
Yeah, that would be great. I'd pay 999 yen for that.